Hi, you guys. It's your girl, Krista Holiday, with another episode of Hip Hop and Poetry. I have a very special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
How y'all doing? My name is Knoxs, aka Nakum Ben Israel Fowler. You can find me on Facebook. Peace.
Yes. So, as you guys know, we dissect and analyze characteristics and aspects about poetry and hip hop. So, let's just dive into it. Knoxs, do you think there's a difference between hip hop and poetry? Like, do you think there's a...
Well, I believe that definitely hip hop is more aggressive, what we see visually or externally, and then poetry is usually looked upon as something more soft or more slow. So you always have to look at the speed of things and the vibration. So when you're at a poetry event, then it's usually slower. Hip hop event is more faster. So I see that that's definitely the first difference between the two.
So you're going off of the tempo of it?
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, you have way more male hip hop artists. Why is that versus the female artists? You know, so it's looked at something that's more aggressive, but I think that it's more fluent. You know, there's no cap on who can be a poet. But there seems to be a cap on who can be a hip hop artist or who's eligible today. But even today, we have a different version of hip hop, of rappers who came and managed to take that concept away.
Yeah, I never looked at it that way. You're saying that, well, we all know that, hip hop, rap, or whatever comes from the party environment, and then later on it evolved into like social issues or whatever. So that's the soft aspect. But it was still in an aggressive manner.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so you have the DJs who came and were the originators for the hip hop. But I like the dance aspect of hip hop also. You have the break dance was also established. You know, and it came from different African dances, different type of martial arts. Was all mixed up and it created the dancing of hip hop, which is really popular today.
Cool. I have another question. So you just mentioned some differences of these two genres. What are some similarities?
The similarities, definitely, I love when the hip hop artist, at first he takes the music, he takes the rap, the song, however you want to call it, and he makes it into poetry. He puts color to his words, and I love when the poet he puts a picture to his words, and that creates a 360-degree visual for the person who receives those words or who hear that. For instance, you have J. Cole. I believe he's a poet / hip hop artist / singer. And then you have Tupac, which he was poetic, but he wasn't a poet. But by being poetic, you are a poet, you know, so it's same but different, as we say.
What I see is that poetry and hip hop clearly have different distinctions.
Yeah.
As you said, hip hop more aggressive. Poetry has a more softer tone, which may be just because it's not with the bass or electronic or the hip hop instrumental.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I feel like you come into is the music. An artist is pretty good if he can take a hip hop song and not use music to it, or take a classical beat and make a song with it. And then also the poet, he usually is working without music, so it's more inner, and the hip hop is more external, which means the hip hop artist might use the crowd and hype them up, and the poet he's already hyped up inside. Now he's gonna just give that to the crowd, and they're gonna hype him up again.
That's dope. So what I believe is happening right now is that these two distinctions, which are similar and different, they're now becoming, and always has been kind of, since they're so similar in many ways, a blending of the two. So we'll hear a hip hop song with poetry in it. You know, like there's the hook, the verse, and at the end of a song, there's like a stop and it's a poem. Or have you heard?
Well, yeah, you have a limited amount of artists out there who can go that deep, and I believe that there's a plan, unfortunately, in the music industry to sort of dumb artists down when they get too conscious, or too aware in their music, because poetry itself is to wake the people up. It's like I would say poetry is similar to a stand-up comedy, whereas the comedian always drops some knowledge. And in poetry, I feel that that's to be done, which is it's not always done. In hip hop, you have some hip hop artists who might have one song on the whole album, who is not just talking about the mundane things that hip hop talk about.
Which one do you prefer?
That's a good question. I love poetry and I love hip hop. But I also would recommend people to listen to music in different languages. Listen to hip hop in Chinese. Listen to hip hop in Russian. Listen to hip hop in Arabic. Listen to hip hop in Japanese. All those different variations open up the mind, and it pulls you closer to those cultures.
Right.
And poetry is international. I mean, I like old poetry just as well as new poetry. So
Well, you're saying a lot there, because we went from talking about like hip hop in different countries and whatnot, and now you're saying like go back to like ancient poets and to now. What's interesting about what he said to me, in my opinion, is that hip hop originated in the States, but now it's like a global phenomenon. I mean, we cannot deny the influence that hip hop has made on a global.
It's like we get to see ourselves outside of ourselves. That's important. That that only happens probably twice in life in a natural way, where you're born, you get a glimpse, and when you die, you get a glimpse. There's other things and ways to manipulate that system and get another glimpse of your life while you're still living. And I know that music is one way to do that. It's a detox, it's a meditation. So definitely poetry. If you put it on a scale, you'd probably say classical music, poetry, R&B, then hip hop. Not necessarily at the bottom or at the top, because as below, so above.
Well, the reason why that kind of makes sense, you guys, real quick, is because poetry is a literary. I mean, it started out oratory, like oral, telling stories down to generations. But it evolved into this literary when we were able to write things down, chisel things down. It became a literary genre, and by nature of that, it's an intellectual endeavor. And us as black people or whatever, we was denied intellectual, educational access. And poetry was a high class genre. Only the intellect of that society engaged in poetry.
You had to know how to read and
write. Had money to even buy books back in the day was very expensive. Now we have the internet and we can get any kind of information, and it hasn't always been that way. So you guys be grateful for this generation and the technology that we do have, and use it. So in hip hop, on the contrary, is more of grit and from the people, more than the everyday person going through struggle, opposed to where poetry was the opposite.
I agree.
Speaking of grit, we are at work on break. At a warehouse, but we can always take time for the show.
Absolutely. I want to say one last thing, that when you're doing hip hop, you're not doing hip hop, you're creating hip hop. When you're doing poetry, you're not doing poetry, you're creating poetry. So I like to give an advice on, think about the 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years, where you or how you would want to be seen, where your music, would want to be seen, how people would view your hip hop today. And we understand that words are curse words. We have curse words. Words are power. The etymology of words. So your words can heal or they can kill.
Yeah, the most powerful people in this, who we consider great, have been great oracles. So yeah, words are very powerful. And I have a blog, you guys, that digs more into this topic. I'm gonna leave a link below, so make sure you check that out if you want something more contextual. But until then, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. He came to work with me. What is he saying? But thank you for doing it. I really appreciate it.
Namaste.
All right.